I don't even care. We were all on Adderall.
In 2015, pro CSGO player Semphis admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs in an interview, but nothing actually happened to him. He got no suspension, he got no warning, no stripped title, nothing. It was just another day in the office for this dude. If this would have happened in any other so-called sport, it would have ended their career.
Some breaking news now on Lance Armstrong. The global governing body of cycling has just announced moments ago it will ban Armstrong for life and strip him of his 7 tour titles.
The demands for a traditional sport compared to an esport does differ in quite a significant way. Professional gamers want to optimize for reaction time and focus over longer periods of time. Like for example when FUT and the BBL, they met in the VCT group stages and took one map to 48 rounds. Having some extra juice to stay locked in over such a long period would be a huge advantage for a gamer. That's the reasons why stimulants of the illegal kind have gotten so much abuse in this scene. People might be asking like how widespread have these things become? And to that I would probably say that it's basically an open secret at this point. If you go around to any like LAN venue or anything similar like that, TwitchCon for example, you will probably be offered all of the different sauce for a couple of V-Bucks at this point. If I were to be a responsible adult, I would probably show some stats and research that argues that these kind of drugs are just placebo for people who don't actually need them and have a prescription for them. But there is kind of no way to deny it, and that's the reason they've become so popular. Just to cover my back though, here is the devil's advocate side. So a study was done on some healthy college kid without ADHD, that is, and the study concluded that the use of Adderall actually did very little to enhance their neurocognition. So do with that information what you will. I would like to add that this study was only done on 13 kids, so there is some way to poke holes at this study. So a reasonable person would think that banning these drugs would be a solution here, and I think it's going to be a bit more complicated than just banning them. So back in 2015, ESL actually did implement random saliva testing for the competing teams. They checked for things like Adderall and Ritalin, and Ritalin is just a different kind of prescription they give in the non-freedom countries, like Europe for example. And this is kind of where the issue starts, because it's illegal to use it if you don't have a prescription, but these guys are making like huge bangs, so they could basically just go to their doctor and say they have short attention span and struggle to focus on their math classes and basically get an ADHD diagnosis, thus making them eligible to opt out of the drug testing pool. With a staggering 7 million kids in the US currently having the diagnosis, I think there would be a pretty easy way to get around this enforcement. It's not exactly rocket science. So because of this, it obviously became really hard to enforce, and thus giving exactly 0 positive tests in the ESL during their drug testing saga. It's worth to note here that there also is no current unified body that governs the kinds of drugs that are allowed or not allowed for gaming in general, so it would probably differ from league to league and game to game. So in one weekend you'll be playing the VCT and popping the one kind of neuro-enhancing drugs, and then the next weekend you're playing in the EWC, and then you're switching to another kind. Sports have kind of figured this stuff out, where the most legit sports use the WADA's prohibited list, which is basically an outline of all the different banned substances that is not allowed to use, both in season and out of season. And this list is also updated each year to include newer developed substances. However, there has recently been some development in this scene. So with the Asian Games wanting esports to be considered a legit sport, they have actually implemented the WADA list for their competing athletes, which means they're going to be tested for all the kinds of substances that regular sports prohibit. The loophole with prescription will probably still be a problem, but at least now the gamers got to send in a report of them actually having the diagnosis and then get approved to opt out of the drug testing pool for example Adderall and Ritalin. So am I concerned about this? Well, I would like kids to stay away from drugs for as long as possible. I think we can all agree that's probably the smart choice. But if it means I will never see a 5v1 clutch in the VCT or the majors again, then I would probably say let the gamers keep on doing what they're doing. And this also makes me feel a bit better, because now I can blame other players for using drugs whenever my KD drops below a 0.5. So my closing thoughts on this is don't do drugs unless you want to become a millionaire gamer celebrity. Then get diagnosed with ADHD and crank 90s like your life depends on it.
Nice. Let's go. Bill, crank.
I knocked one. I'm getting focused.
I'm high.
Okay. I'm gonna get you guys in a second.